The 2020 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony is being brought to you by
Philadelphia is a hard-working town. It's a passionate town. It's a sports town. Hello, this is Keith Baldwin coming to you from Spikes Trophies here in Philadelphia. Spikes is a 90-year-old company. We've got 3 showrooms. We are an awards trophy manufacturer. We help people recognize. We help people celebrate success. We also distribute promotional products. That's anything with a logo, like an embroidered shirt. And we also manufacture interior signage. Keith Baldwin from Spikes Trophies in Philadelphia.
Hi, I'm Ken Avalon, President of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Welcome to the Hall of Fame's 2020 induction ceremony. Like everything else this year, our induction is very different than normal. Rather than our regular annual sold-out gala, for 2020 we produced Inductee from a Distance, Hall of Fame's first video production featuring this year's inductees and some special guests. Before we get to the main production, we want to acknowledge a couple of this year's inductees. First inductee is a Philly slugger from the 1920s, 4-time home run leader and lifetime 3-6 batter with the Phillies, Cy Williams. For team induction, we have Philadelphia's first baseball dynasty. The Philadelphia Athletics won 3 World Series from 1910 to 1913 and featured 6 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Famers. Next is a defensive lineman who played 12 seasons with the Eagles in the 1940s and early 1950s, 5-time All-Pro and 2-time NFL champion Vic Sears. And finally, former National High School Basketball Player of the Year, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 18-time NBA All-Star, and 5-time NBA champion Kobe Bryant. And now to take us to the rest of the evening, I'll turn things over to tonight's MC, lifelong Philadelphian who's been on Phillies Airways for the past 20 years, current midday host on 94 WIP, Joe DeCamera.
Thank you, Ken. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame 2020 induction ceremony. It is certainly my honor, my privilege, my pleasure to be here tonight as we broadcast from the Hall of Fame's preview gallery at Spikes Trophies on Grand Avenue. You're there, I'm here, but we're together as Philadelphia sports fans as we honor the best of the best in Philadelphia sports tonight with 17 new honorees going into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. And the Hall of Fame now for close to 2 decades has been all about cherishing the great tradition of Philadelphia sports, honoring the best of the best, whether it be a coach, a player, an executive. Referees make the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame when they are truly great. And tonight we got a little bit of a mixture of everything. Men and women across so many different sports, so deserving of this great honor tonight. Now, before we hear from our inductees, let's take a look at the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame class of 2020. What a class. Hey, if you've been to the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremonies in the past, you know the night would never be complete without the traditional nominee poem, and there is no one who can pull it off like the great Pat Williams. Pat, take it away.
Hello, everybody, and greetings from sunny Orlando, Florida. It's going to be a little bit different this year as we honor these inductees into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. But that doesn't mean our poetic efforts have died. So let me get the whole evening started with a 2020 virtual vision. Are you ready? The 2020 Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame production, for coronavirus reasons, will be by virtual induction. So we will circumvent the pestilence as we honor 17 for their excellence. Chester High's Bo Ryan coached basketball in Dairyland, guiding his Wisconsin teams with a dominating winning hand. Bob Rigby of Ridley is a soccer great that we extol. At East Stroudsburg with the Philadelphia Atoms, as an Olympian, he excelled at goal patrol. Lower Merion's Sherrie Greer Brown starred in lacrosse as a Virginia Cavalier. In 1994, this World Cup champion was named National Player and Defensive Player of the Year. Cy Williams was a Phillies great who starred more than 100 years ago. This home run slugger and defensive whiz was clearly the star of the show. Penn Charter and Penn grad Dave Montgomery joined the Phillies sales team in 1971, then climbed the leadership ladder as team chairman and CEO and beloved native son. Those who followed his career are not surprised to see Daron Cherry on top. This Kansas City Chiefs kick returner and defensive back was an offensive stop traffic cop. Pottstown's Earl Strom refereed in the NBA in over 2,400 games for 32 years, and it's no mystery why Earl is regarded among the very best to call a game in NBA history. For Lower Merion native boxing promoter J. Russell Peltz, being named to a Hall of Fame is nothing new. He's already been enshrined in 9 of them, so we welcome him in 2020 as he makes his well-deserved Philly Hall debut. Eagles tackle Jerry Sisemore is remembered for his stability. This Pro Bowl started 155 of 156 games and was the quintessence of dependability. It comes as no coincidence that Ken Hamilton coached for 28 years at Ben Franklin High. His inspired, inventive coaching style resulted in 4 public league championships, 456 wins of excellence personified. Lower Merion's and the Lakers' Kobe Bryant is a star we will always revere. His offensive and defensive prowess was on display in the NBA for 20 years. With 5 NBA champion Laker teams and 2 finals as MVP, a master of the game was the beloved Kobe. Norristown native and Notre Dame Academy's Lisa Raymond packed her racket and headed to the University of Florida to net wins in scores of tennis games. While there, she was the NCAA National Singles Champion in 1992 and 93, and then won 4 doubles titles as part of her winning spree. Rick Tocchet of the Flyers was a right winger on the ice, leading in points, goals, and assists. Rick's games was balanced and oh so nice. South Philly's Tim Witherspoon was in 1984 and 1986 the world's heavyweight champion, racking up 55 wins. In 2008, he was elected to the New Jersey and Pennsylvania boxing halls. Tim sure knew how to maul and brawl. Herman Frazier was a Germantown native and sprinter who hot-footed it to Arizona State. He captained the 1977 national team that proved to be first-rate. He was famous for his work with minorities, and building leadership skills was his priority. Vic Sears starred for the Eagles for 13 seasons on the defensive line 79 years ago. He also played on offense and was a 4-time All-NFL and 4-time All-Pro. He was a key member of the Eagles championship teams in 1948 and 1949. Vic Sears had few peers, and his game was oh so super fine. Final recognition this year goes to Connie Mack's 1910 to 1913 Philadelphia A's teams from more than a century ago. In 1910, 1911, and 1913, they were World Series champions. Collins, Baker, Pennick, Plank, and Bender put on an impressive talent show. So we applaud this 2020 class, albeit in this vicarious way, extolling your performance excellence as we honor you today. Now let's have a great time tonight, and hopefully we'll all be together next year.
Phenomenal as always. There's no one in the world quite like Pat Williams, and we've been so lucky for so many years to have him with us with the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Now let's meet our inductees. And tonight, our first inductee of the evening is the great basketball referee Earl Strom, who went to Pottstown High School. Earl spent 32 seasons as an ABA and NBA official from 1957 to 1990. He is known and was known for such great integrity and fearlessness, one of the most respected basketball officials of all time. Earl officiated more than 2,400 games, including 295 playoff games, 60 NBA Finals games, including Game 4 between the Sixers and the Lakers in 1983. He's also a member of the Jewish Hall of Fame, the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, and in 1995, he had the great honor of being inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, the first NBA referee ever enshrined. Now he is part of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. To accept Earl's nomination, his son Eric Strom. Eric, congratulations to your father, to your entire family. Congratulations.
Good evening. On behalf of my father, Earl Strom, the Strom family is proud to accept his induction into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. My father lived his entire life just outside of Philadelphia in the small town of Pottstown, Pennsylvania. And even though he's not associated with Philadelphia because he didn't win championships for Philadelphia, he certainly was a part of NBA history and Philadelphia sports history throughout his career. It was once written of my father that Earl Strom's career is woven like a thread through the fabric of the history of the NBA. And he was part of many memorable moments in NBA history. Specifically to Philadelphia, 3 memories stand out. In 1959, my father worked the first NBA game between Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. 10 years later, in 1969, he worked the final game between Wilt and Russell, Wilt now playing for the Los Angeles Lakers. My father was the only person on the court other than Wilt and Russell in those 2 memorable games. When the Philadelphia 76ers won their 2 NBA titles in 1967 and 1983, only one person was on the court for both clinching games. In 1967, in Game 6, my father officiated that game, and in 1983, in Game 4, when the Sixers won again, my father was officiating that game, being the only person on the court for both Sixers titles. When Dr. J entered pro basketball in 1971, my father worked his first game in the ABA. In 1987, when Julius finished his career playing for the 76ers, my father was on the court and handed Dr. J the game ball after his final game. Again, being the only person on the court with Julius at the beginning of his career and the end of his career. Many people have referred to my father as the greatest official in the history of the NBA, and I may be a little biased, but I would have to agree with that. And it's we're very proud in our family that 30 years after our father last officiated a game in the NBA in 1990, we can still meet people who fondly remember him And as soon as I tell them who my father was by name or show a picture, they say, oh, I remember him. He made his mark, and again, we're proud that he is being inducted tonight into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Eric. Our next inductee, the great David Montgomery. Such a special person. David went to Penn Charter High School and then the University of Pennsylvania. He was hired by the Philly Sales Department in 1971, advanced to Director of Sales and Marketing, and then was the head of the business department starting in 1980. David became part owner of the Phillies in 1981, was named the Chief Operating Officer of the Phillies in 1992, and in 1997 was elevated to the role of team president and then chairman in 2015. And what a great stretch of success the Phillies had with David Montgomery in charge, including 5 consecutive years making the playoffs. That's a very rare thing in baseball. Back-to-back years in the World Series. And of course, in 2008, the glory of the Phillies' 2008 World Championship. In 2015, Dave was presented with the Ed Snyder Lifetime Distinguished Humanitarian Award from the Philadelphia Sports Writers Association. And in 2017, the Bud Selig Executive Leadership Award from the Professional Baseball Scouts Foundation. And in 2020, the incredible honor, the 2020 Baseball Hall of Fame's Buck O'Neil Award winner. The Phillies have named their Carpenter Complex indoor training facility after David, as it is now called the David P. Montgomery Baseball Performance Center. David's contribution to the Phillies and Philadelphia sports was profound. And here to accept the induction on behalf of the Montgomery family, David's wife, Lynn Montgomery.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the committee for including David in this year's class of inductees to the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. I congratulate the other 2020 honorees for their many accomplishments. I know he would be happy to be joining this esteemed group of men and women. David had a remarkable love of sports throughout his entire life. Growing up in Roxborough, when he wasn't playing one sport or another, he was watching and cheering on his favorite teams and players. And boy, did he love the Philadelphia teams. Is there a city more active than Philadelphia for enduring sports rivalries? I don't think so. David went to and played football for William Penn Charter School, which shares the oldest continuous high school football rivalry with Germantown Academy. He played for a coach he loved named Ray Dooney. Maybe some of you remember him. Ironically, later on, David coached at GA for another wonderful coach who became a close friend, Jack Turner. He also became a coach for the Little Quakers football team, which Bob Levy sponsored. I'm sure it helped his career to have an MBA from Wharton, but he also learned so many relationship building and life skills from the coaches he both played for and later coached with. He loved his time at Penn and Wharton, and while there, spent many happy hours at the Palestra and Franklin Field. In fact, he continued to attend games at the Palestra with a faithful group of friends until a few months before he died. After his years at Penn, his good friend Ed Rendell encouraged David to go to work for a local sports team. To this day, I am not sure if that suggestion was more in the interest of David's career or to give Ed access to tickets. Amazingly enough, it all worked out. When Bill Giles gave him a job in sales at the Phillies, David recognized it as a dream opportunity, and for the rest of his life, he remained fully committed to that wonderful organization. He always said he didn't feel like he went to work. He just did what he loved to do each day. This didn't mean he didn't work hard. In working his way up, he learned about every aspect of the business and about his coworkers. David believed that every employee, on the field or off, was a key component of a winning team. and he loved the family atmosphere at the Phillies. But he also realized the impact a sports team could have on the community and used that tool to help others less fortunate. He understood that supporting fundraisers and serving on nonprofits around the Delaware Valley made a difference. Empowering young people was a favorite commitment he took very seriously. When Nancy Giles suggested the Phillies have a charity arm, David embraced it, and Phillies Charities grew to become an important vehicle to give back to the local community. I applaud the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame for honoring the Philadelphia sports legends, but also for the great work it continues to do to promote youth sports in our region. This is a difficult time for sports of all kinds, but hopefully we will soon find a vaccine for the virus and resume a more normal way of life. In finishing, I would like to mention that David never would have said this himself, but I can since he can't be here tonight. He had an amazing number of friends, and there were many times when people would approach me to tell me how much they respected him and enjoyed his company. He was humble and honest. He didn't take himself too seriously. Yes, he was a hard worker, but he had a superb sense of humor. Never mean, never caustic, but boy, could he get in your head in friendly competition. Thank you for adding David's name to this esteemed group of sports figures. He didn't seek out recognition, but he would be honored to join many of his hometown heroes. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lynn. And I certainly want to emphasize David Montgomery, one of my favorite people I have ever met in Philadelphia sports. He was such a wonderful person. Now, let's meet our next inductee and go from baseball to boxing. With any great fighter, there's always a great promoter in the wings, getting work done. And our next inductee, Russell Peltz, certainly has for so many years. He went to Lower Merion High School and then to Temple University, a part of the class of 1968. Russell promoted his first fight in 1969 at the young age of 22. He was the director of boxing at the Spectrum from 1973 to 1980 and spent over 50 years as a promoter throughout Philadelphia and Atlantic City. Russell promoted fights for legendary boxers, including Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Benny Briscoe, Jeff Chandler, Matthew Saad Muhammad, and so many others. Russell was given the James J. Walker Award by the Boxing Writers Association in 1999 and has been inducted into the Philadelphia Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, the Pennsylvania Boxing Hall of Fame, the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame, the World Boxing Hall of Fame, and the International Boxing Hall of Fame. And tonight, we honor him, inducting the great Russell Peltz into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Russell, congratulations.
Most people don't know is that this is an historic night for the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame because for the first time in its history, 2 graduates of Lower Merion High School will be inducted. And in case you hadn't guessed, I'm the other one. But somewhere, someday, in some record book, my name and Kobe Bryant's are going to be linked together, and that's not too shabby. As for me, I was one of those kids who was focused when he was 12. I knew what I was going to do with my life. I started watching boxing on television in the summer of 1959, and actually it became my mistress. And when I was 13, I found a place called the Elks Club on Arch Street in Center City, and I'd go there every Saturday morning and learn how to box. But after 6 months of getting hit in the body, getting hit in the face, I realized that a kid who was growing up in Ballackinwood would have a better chance to make money behind the desk than inside a boxing ring. As a present for my 14th birthday, my dad took me to my first live fight. It was December 6, 1960 at Convention Hall in West Philly. And I remember when we walked in and I saw the empty ring. The show hadn't started yet. And I saw the cigarette smoke and the cigar smoke over the ring. I knew somehow boxing just had to be a part of my life. I just didn't know what part. But I went to college for journalism because I wanted to be a sports writer. And I got a job during my junior year, full-time job, working what they called the lobster shift at the Evening and Sunday Bulletin. I'd go in at 12, midnight, work till 8 a.m., editing stories, writing headlines, laying out the pages. Occasionally I got to write some stories, but I wanted to be the boxing writer. And Jack Freed, who was the boxing writer, had been there since 1930, and we never really got along. I think he saw me as his replacement. But he kept getting extensions on his mandatory retirement, which was 65. And I'm thinking to myself, do I want to stay around here and wait for this man to die? And I spent a lot of time watching the clock. And believe me, when you're working, most of your waking hours are at your job. And you better enjoy it. And I'm watching the clock and I'm saying to myself, do I want to watch the clock for the rest of my life? So when I was 22, I told Jackie Wilson, the sports editor, that I was leaving the Bulletin and I was going to become a boxing promoter. And I remember the woman that I was dating at the time, who became my first wife, one night at dinner, she said to me, "What makes you think you can do this?" And I said, "Well, you know what, I've got about $5,000 saved up while working in college, and one day we'll have this great scrapbook to show our kids about the time their daddy was a boxing promoter." I've been fortunate to have been involved in what I always call the last golden era of boxing in Philadelphia. And I promoted some great fights with some great fighters. And in those days, I promoted at the Blue Horizon, which is no longer around, at Broad and Master in North Philly, the Arena, which is no longer around, at 46th and Market in West Philly, the Spectrum at Broad and Patterson, also no longer around. And in those days, I was known as the Mod Boy promoter. I wore bell-bottoms, thick white belts, I had an afro hairstyle, I wore Mickey Mouse t-shirts to my press conferences. We had some great journalists. Today we have the internet, which I call the misinformation highway. And recently someone tweeted about me, they called me Old Ass Peltz. And I really thought that was funny, because sometimes now I answer the phone, I just pick it up and I say, Old Ass Peltz here. So from the Mod Boy promoter to Old Ass Peltz, I've had quite a ride. This is a wonderful honor, and thank you.
Great stuff, Russell. Congratulations again. All right, let's meet our next inductee tonight to the world of soccer and being a soccer goaltender. And certainly that's something the great Bob Rigby did so well. Bob went to Ridley High School and led Ridley to league and district championships. He was a first-team All-American goalkeeper for East Stroudsburg State in 1972 and was selected first overall by the Philadelphia Atoms in the 1973 NASL draft. Bob excelled for 12 seasons as a goalkeeper in the NASL from 1973 to 1984. What a journey those years were for him. In 1973 as a rookie, .62 goals against average, remarkable. He then helped lead the Atoms to the NASL championship in 1973. And for his career, incredible stats. 227 games played, a 1.62 goals against average for his career, 36 shutouts, 1,456 saves, and 4 times finished in the top 10 for goals against average. He was a 2-time All-Star selection, a member of the 1972 U.S. Olympic soccer team. He earned 6 caps for the U.S. men's national team, and then in 1989 was inducted into the Delaware County Athletes Hall of Fame. We honor tonight the great Bob Rigby, our latest inductee into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Bob, congratulations.
I would like to thank the selection committee for this tremendously meaningful honor to be inducted into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. It has meaning within meaning for me because I'm a Delaware County kid that grew up outside the city. The caliber, the pedigree, and the careers of almost all of the people that are already in the Sports Hall of Fame are people that I'm well familiar with, rooted for, rode the ups and downs of their careers. And then the other meaning is that I'm the third soccer player being inducted, and Coach Walt Barr, who is the player that I'm following in, I played with his three sons. I played against his college coach teams. He had an amazing career as a national team player, as a coach that was respected on all levels. So there's so many layers of meanings about how valuable it is and meaningful to be part of this Hall of Fame. Growing up in Philadelphia, I didn't start playing soccer. I didn't walk into goalkeeping until my senior year. Within a year, I had made the Olympic team. 3 years from that, I was a first-team All-American, first-round draft pick. But it was coming back to Philadelphia. And in those years, starting as late as I did, to the point where I jumped into my pro career, which was in Philadelphia, it was the ethnic leagues and in Philadelphia and New York City, where they were the proving grounds for me. So having the respect of the city guys, the ethnic teams, was always what I tested and measured myself by. And if I look at what that led to in terms of the 13 years professionally that I played in cities all throughout the United States and Canada, played for the national team and internationally, I cut my teeth and made my chops in Philadelphia. So again, to come home, and this was the place that always was most important and continues to be. There's coaches that I absolutely want to tip my hat to as integral in terms of the success. Any success we have in life is always the people around us. A lot of time to look back and reflect. My high school coach, Jack Preston, that had the foresight to throw me into goalkeeping so I wouldn't be a third-year JV player at Ridley High School because I was getting my butt kicked playing football. My college coach, Dr. John McKeon, who kind of knew what he had and never let me get too full of head or self, and was integral in staging me in those 4 years to go from nobody to a first-team All-American to the first draft pick. Al Miller, my first coach in Philadelphia with the Philadelphia Atoms, that was a storybook year in and of itself. First American coach, first American franchise, where the night that we won the championship in Dallas, Texas, by the team owned by Lamar Hunt, an NFL name, it was cutting edge history that led to, over the course of my 13-year career, having 9 teams in the league to 28. So just the acceleration and the scope of, in such a short time, where that took me, played with all my heroes, played teammate of Pelé, traveled the world with Pelé. Pelé was the one that recommended to the Cosmos buying me when I was on tour with them. Played with George Best, a hero of mine. Played in ran Philadelphia goalkeeping camps with Gordon Banks, the English international goalkeeper. Played with Johan Cruyff. Took Cruyff to the airport to pick up his Dobermans when they were flying in from Holland. I mean, I have such priceless experiences, but again, it's the Philadelphia roots, and it's coming back. And I took so much more on those playgrounds and on those fields with no grass, and not getting in or giving lip, and not just, the rules of etiquette of how it was in Philadelphia, built a foundation to do that anywhere. So there's such appreciation for all of that, and again, for this honor. In closing, what I'd like to say is that the most important franchise that I'm a part of now is my family. My wife, Linda, is the center, the light, and the love of my life. 4 wonderful children, 8 grandchildren, and I'm sure they're all tuning in because I've had a fair share of acknowledgement as in my soccer career, but this is one I want them all watching because it's home and it's Philadelphia. So best to all the other inductees, and just thanks so much because it's a coming of full circle in my life.
Thanks, Bob. Great stuff. Congratulations. By the way, little known fact about Bob. In 1976, he appeared in an episode of The Superstars on ABC, and then, incredibly, was the first soccer player ever to appear on the cover of Sports Illustrated. The first of all time. Incredible. Bob, once again, congratulations. Every year here with the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, we induct someone for their lifetime commitment. And tonight, our honoree, Ken Hamilton. This year's lifetime commitment inductee, Ken Hamilton, with 35 years working in the Philadelphia School District. He was the head coach of Benjamin Franklin High School for 28 years. He was also the first African-American coach to win the Boys Public League Championship. And we could not think of anyone better to formally introduce him, not me, than the great Wally Jones. Wally, of course, from the 76ers, and one of his best friends. Wally, take it away.
Congratulations, Ken QP Hamilton, Ben Franklin High School. I'd like to talk a little more, not just about the sports accolades, but also your involvement in the intelligentsia and academician community. Social studies teacher for 35 years, department head, coordinator for communities and schools program. First to teach African American history as an accredited subject, school newspaper sponsor. First African American to win the Public League Championship. 4 years. Retired with the most wins in Public League history. Your involvement in the community and activism involved the Superstars Institute, established in 1969 to stop the violence in Philadelphia. One of the things that I'm very proud of is to know you as a competitor at Germantown High School when I was at Overbrook High School. We've been involved with correctional facilities for the past 20 years in Pennsylvania and Virginia. Another thing I'd like to say is Hamilton Hall. The gym there at Ben Franklin is named after you. Congratulations on your induction into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame.
I would like to thank the people of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame for this prestigious award. Placing my name with some of the greatest sports figures in Philadelphia history is overwhelming. Being from Philly makes this even more rewarding to me. I would like to mention some of the people who have helped me to achieve this honor. First of all, my family, who have been my backbone. My wife, Jennifer, who obviously loves me, even though I have lost my hair, my teeth, my memory, my patience, and my mind. My children, who have had to share me with the hundreds of young people I have tried to help. My son, Greer, who played for me and later came back to be my assistant coach and provided me with the youthful energy that an aging coach needs to maintain a successful program. My daughter, Mawani, and grandchildren, Asia and Askia Jr., who I have dragged to countless basketball games. I must mention my mentors, Jim Moss, John Chaney, Speedy Morris, who I patterned myself after as a coach. Anytime I had a question, they were there to help me. Anytime I had any doubt as to what to do, I would say to myself, what would they do? I was befriended by my partners, Wally Jones and Walt Hazard, who brought me into a world that few people have been able to dream of. My friends, Lionel Hoy and Philly Mike Jordan, who were always by my side. I must mention Lou Williams and Eddie Hurt, young men who were my students and later came back to be my assistants and were responsible for bringing many of the young players to our program. Finally, the great young people who I have had the pleasure of coaching and teaching. I was blessed to come to Benjamin Franklin in 1966 and stayed till 1999, where I was able to interact with so many diamonds in the rough. Once again, thank you, Ken QP Hamilton, Philly proud.
Thank you, Ken. And thank you for all of your hard work and all the time and commitment you have spent with the kids. By the way, 100% of Ken's kids through the years went on to receive their high school diploma. Incredible. Our next inductee to the world of lacrosse, Sherrie Greer Brown. Sherrie went to Lower Merion High School and Harrington High School. She played college lacrosse at the University of Virginia from 1991 to 1994. Sherrie was a three-time first-team All-American and a National Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year award winner in 1994, the same season in which she led all NCAA Division I players in points. She led UVA to 4 straight Division I lacrosse Final Fours and was a 2-time national champion in 1991 and 1993. She also was a member of the USA National Women's Lacrosse Team, a 4-time member of the USA Women's World Cup team, and was the captain of the World Cup squad in 2001 and 2005. Sherrie was also a 2-time IFWLA Women's World Cup MVP, a 3-time member of Team USA's World Cup champions. Sherrie had the great honor at the end of the 20th century of being named by Lacrosse Magazine to their All-Century team, and in 2009, she was inducted into the National Lacrosse Hall of Fame. Sherrie is also the daughter of 76ers great Hal Greer, who was inducted into this very Hall of Fame, the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame in 2006, making Sherrie and her father the first father-daughter combo inductees into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Sherrie, congratulations.
Good evening. I know this event looks a little different than in the past, but it feels wonderful to be a part of this special evening. I would like to thank the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame for selecting me to receive this honor. I'm humbled and overwhelmed to join past recipients and proud to be a part of this year's honorees. As I reflect upon my lacrosse career, from high school and college to the national teams, I realized that each phase projected me to the next level. Surrounded by the best coaches and players throughout, each team exhibited similar qualities: hard work, devotion, desire, dedication, and winning. Each team had a major impact on my personal and professional life. I wouldn't have received this honor tonight if it wasn't for so many special and wonderful people that are part of my life. As a child, I didn't have to search far for role models. I was extremely blessed to have a loving and supporting family. My father's motto was have fun, work hard, and do my best. My mother made countless sacrifices, especially shuttling me to and from every single practice and game. That was exhausting because I participate in every sport you can imagine. I am forever grateful for my mom and dad's love, support, guidance, and great genes. My father, Hal Greer, played in the NBA for 15 years with the Philadelphia 76ers. Officially regarded as one of the 50 greatest players in the history of sport, he was inducted to the NBA Hall of Fame in 1981, presented with a statue at the Sixers practice facility, and inducted into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. He certainly paved the way for me. I would also like to thank my brother, Harold Greer Jr., for always challenging me in every sport when we were kids. He helped develop my athletic ability before I competed in any organized sport. To my husband, Winston, thank you for being a wonderful and supportive husband. We are a great team and will pass along the same values I learned to our children. To my amazing kids, my daughter Greer, who is 9 years old, and my son Cannon, who is 5, thank you for allowing me to be your mother. You both mean the world to me. To my high school coach, Phyllis Pillard, thank you for introducing me to lacrosse and building my foundation. Initially, I ran track and field, but it was Phyllis who suggested I try lacrosse. So I thank you. I would like to thank my college coach, Jane Miller, for recruiting me to the University of Virginia, allowing me to learn and grow under her leadership. She created a winning environment, keeping our team unified and always prepared. I began competing on the U.S. and World Cup teams while in college for head coach Sue Stahl and her assistant Heather Dow. Sue and Heather, thank you for your dedication and passion for the game and for building winning teams. It was truly an honor to play for the United States for 15 years under your leadership. Throughout my career, each coach had a distinct and very effective coaching style. I had the best coaches that not only made me a good player, but a better person. I thank you all. Since there are too many names to list, I thank all of my amazing and talented teammates. I would not be receiving this award without you. In closing, lacrosse has given me so much joy, satisfaction, valuable life skills, and invaluable relationships. I'm thrilled to have such an amazing family, friends, coaches, and teammates. My name is on the award, but I share this honor with you all. Enjoy the evening.
Thank you, Sherrie, and again, congratulations. our next inductee from the world of track and field, and the great Herman Frazier. Born in Philadelphia in 1954, Herman went to Germantown High School and competed with the Philadelphia Pioneer Club. He was an All-American sprinter at Arizona State and the team captain of the 1977 National Championship team. He won gold in the Pan Am Games with the 4x400 in 1975 in Mexico City and gold in the 4x400 in 1979 in San Juan. He also won gold and a bronze medal in the 1976 Summer Olympics in Montreal. Herman was named as one of the 50 most powerful African Americans in sports in the March 2005 issue of Black Enterprise magazine, and Sports Illustrated cited him in 2003 as one of the 101 most influential minorities in sports. Herman received the NCAA's Silver Anniversary Award in 2002, and that same year, the Herman R. Frazier Political Science Scholarship was established in his name at Arizona State. Tonight, we honor Herman Frazier and induct him into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Herman, congratulations.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame for this great honor. Growing up in Philadelphia, like most kids, I played football, basketball, and baseball. However, growing up in the inner city of Philadelphia, I knew that sports and education were going to be the way for me to escape. And I had the opportunity to participate in sports. And to be honest with you, I did not even start running track until I was a senior in high school at Germantown High School in 1972. And then 4 years later, who would have thought it, I was in the Olympics, having the opportunity to capture a bronze and gold medal in Montreal. And I have many, many people to thank for that particular honor and all the other things that have happened to me in my life. It starts with my parents. First and foremost, they were the people who paved the way for me to be where I am today. Secondly, I would like to thank Arizona State University for all the things that they did for me as an undergraduate student, and more specifically when they hired me at the tender age of 23 years old to become an assistant athletic director and stay in this business for so many years. Thirdly, I would like to thank the United States Olympic Committee for their ability to teach me management and also how to deal with politics. And fourthly, I would like to thank the Fiesta Bowl for giving me the opportunity to understand collegiate athletics even more so. And so as I stand here today as a recipient of this, I would like to thank all the other inductees who are going into the hall this evening. And I have many, many other people to thank as well. Many teachers, many mentors, many professors, and everyone else who helped pave the way for Herman Frazier. And so tonight, I celebrate with you this wonderful honor. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Herman. Now we turn to the world of tennis, and our next inductee, the great Lisa Raymond. Lisa, a Norristown native, went to Notre Dame Academy High School and then the University of Florida, where she was a two-time NCAA singles champion in 1992 and 1993. Professionally, Lisa had 6 Grand Slam doubles titles, including 3 in the U.S. Open, 5 Grand Slam mixed doubles titles, 4 WTA Tour Doubles Championships, and 79 WTA Tour victories in doubles. Lisa won an Olympic bronze medals in doubles in 2012 and held the #1 world ranking in doubles for a total of 137 weeks. Congratulations to Lisa Raymond, our latest inductee into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Congrats, Lisa.
Hi, everybody. Lisa Raymond here. It's kind of crazy that this is how we're doing acceptance speeches now, via messages on phones, and rather than all being there in person and being able to all celebrate this incredible day and event together. But I guess this is just the world we're living in now. So, hopefully everybody there is safe and healthy and doing well, and yeah, and I guess, like I said, this is kind of the world we're living in. So, but anyway, I just want to say thank you. huge thank you to Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame for this incredible honor. When I was told that I was receiving this honor and being inducted, it was just quite the humbling experience. When I think about all the incredible athletes that have come out of the Philadelphia area or played in the Philadelphia area, and to think that I'm in the same breath as some of those athletes is quite humbling, to say the least. I certainly want to thank the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame for choosing me and for giving me this honor. It's just so humbling, and I think back with so many incredible memories growing up in the Philadelphia area and growing up outside of Philly and playing in the area and all the weekends traveling to all the tennis tournaments and around the Philadelphia area. They're some of the best memories, certainly of my career and of my childhood. So Philly and the Philly area is always going to be home. My family is still there. I'm there all the time, and it certainly will forever hold a very, very special place in my heart. So it's way too many people to thank who have attributed to my career and both on and off the tennis court. I think if I had to certainly thank one person, that so many people that they say it takes a village to raise kids. It certainly took a massive village to get me to where I was in my career and to have the career that I had. And but I think probably be my first coach, who was from Philadelphia, Mr. Charlie Oliver, who was a massive influence on me, both on and off the tennis court. And I started working with Mr. Oliver when I was about I must have been about 10 or 11, and worked with him till pretty much I went to college. And he just instilled so many incredible things in me and in my family. He always said, make sure you have a life outside of tennis, make sure you get an education, stay in school. And he always put, family first. And I think, it was one of those things where I attribute my longevity in my career a lot to Mr. Oliver, because of so many things that he instilled in me. And, him and his family were very, very dear friends to myself and to my family, always throughout my career and my life. So Mr. Oliver is definitely somebody I need to thank, who I would certainly not be where I am today, and certainly not be accepting this incredible honor without Mr. Oliver. So that's that. And then obviously my family. They sacrificed so much when I was growing up, especially my little sister, Steffi. We would drag her to tournaments every weekend, and she'd be there after practice or after school during my practices all the time, and she was a trooper. So, but my family, they were there. They supported me through thick and thin growing up, and throughout my entire pro career, allowed me to make a lot of decisions, whether I was going to go to college or turn pro, and then once I did turn pro, they were omnipresent in my life and in my career, and again, I would not be the tennis player or the person that I am today if it wasn't for them. So wrap this up here for you so you don't have to keep listening to me talk. Again, I could thank, there's pages and pages and pages of people and individuals, organizations, sponsors, everybody that attributed to, making me the tennis player and the person I am today. And I'm still involved in tennis. I coach somebody on the WTA Tour full-time now, and I absolutely love it. You know, it's a cliche. They say tennis is a sport for a lifetime, but it truly is. It's given me so much, and I love it. I love every day coaching and being involved in this incredible sport. So anyway, thank you again for this incredible honor, and you know, congratulations to all the other inductees, and everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and once again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Love you, Philly.
Congratulations once again, Lisa. Now let's turn our attention to our next inductee and the world of college basketball. When we talk about college hoops, certainly this man stands out. Bo Ryan grew up in the area and went to Chester High School. He was the head coach for Wisconsin Platteville from 1984 to 1999 with an awesome .823 winning percentage, and led the Pioneers to 4 NCAA Division III men's basketball titles. He then became the head coach of Wisconsin-Milwaukee in 1999 and had a .526 winning percentage, and then became the head coach at the University of Wisconsin. He led the Badgers to 4 Big Ten regular season titles, 3 tournament titles, and 13 times guided them to the NCAA tournament, where in 2014 and 2015, they reached the Final Four. Bo was a 4-time Big Ten Coach of the Year award winner and twice the National Coach of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor to induct the great Bo Ryan into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Bo, congratulations.
Hi, Bo Ryan here, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame for allowing me to be inducted into one heck of a class. I want to congratulate all the other members of the 2020 Hall of Fame inductees, because it's quite the list, and I'm very honored and humbled to be a part of it. I would like to just say that there's something about the Philly area that has always been deeply embedded in my heart and in my soul. I can remember a quote by a good friend of mine, Jim Van Koski, who works with the Sports Legends Hall of Fame, or the Sports Legends of Delaware County. And he reminded me that our career paths are shaped by the networks around us. And I know from my coaching career that my influences came directly from the Philadelphia area. And I'm extremely proud to represent those people. It all started with my dad, who took me to every game he possibly could. And a little history lesson here is the first time I ever attended a sports game, a professional game in the city of Philadelphia, was at Shibe Park, Connie Mack Stadium. We were diehard A's fans. When the team left, we were heartbroken. But I can remember we parked the car. We had a young man ask us for a quarter to watch the car. My dad said, "My car doesn't need washing." The young man repeated, "A quarter to watch your car." And my dad finally got it. We went into the stadium. I'll never forget walking up the ramp and looking out across the green grass, and living in a row house at the time. That was way, way more green than I had ever seen. And so that was my first experience. And then the A's moved. We were heartbroken. They moved to Kansas City. And what we did was we became diehard Philly fans, which fortunately we were in a city big enough to have 2 professional baseball teams. From there, I can remember going to Franklin Field. I still have a piece of the goalpost from the 1960 Eagles-Packers game, which most people out there would remember, and if you're young, you can Google it. But it was one heck of a game, and it took a lot of work to get to the goalpost, but we finally got a piece. And from there, the Eagles are still around. thank goodness. But my dad also took me to Philadelphia Warriors games. And I can remember going to Convention Hall and just seeing all the clouds up in the ceiling, and then realize that it was smoke from pipe, cigar, and cigarette smoking that people were allowed to do in the 50s. But I can remember watching the Warriors, and then they left. Fortunately, we were able to get another team in the Sixers, but that was devastating also. From there, as far as professional sports, there's been a lot of great teams, a lot of great memories, and a lot of heartbreaks, but that's athletics. So my coaching and my ability to be able to get some things done generated from the interest that my dad created through me in these games and in the different venues that I was able to attend. We did have one other place that we cherished, and that was the Palestra. My dad took me to college games in the Palestra from the time I could walk, and I fell in love with basketball. I fell in love with the coaches, with Jack Ramsey, with Jack McKinney, and Harry Litwack, who recruited me for Temple coming out of Chester High School. I can remember with Harry Litwack, after the game that we had lost to go to the finals, him coming into the locker room in the Palestra, and at first I could smell this cigar. And as everybody remembered, Coach Litwack, he usually had one with him. And he came in the locker room, put his arm around me and said, you know, you're going to be okay. You guys played hard. And he gave us a nice talk. And he especially picked me up. And that influence of a coach, I'll never forget. And then to have the luxury of playing for the same coach in high school and college, playing at the Palestra for Coach Ron Rainey was one of the best experiences I've ever had. After watching games as a kid, as I said, with my dad, and then to be able to play in the Palestra, that was a lifelong goal, was to try to win a state championship. We came up a little short, but that's life. And through athletics in the Philly area and the influence of the Philadelphia sports teams has made me a much better person. I just can't thank the sports writers enough, because what they developed by amusing us and informing us with all the stories and information. As a kid growing up, that influence projected my career path. And I can't thank the sports writers enough. And I hope that everybody out there enjoys the experiences that are coming through our Philadelphia teams. And I hope that everybody has a COVID-safe 2020-21. Thank you.
Thank you, Bo, and congratulations once again. Our next inductee is Tim Witherspoon, someone I certainly would not want to get in the ring with. Tim was a great fighter, a Philadelphia native from South Philadelphia High School. He was a sparring partner of Muhammad Ali. He made his debut in 1979 with a TKO of Joe Adams, then won the WBC title in 1984, defeating Greg Page, and later won the WBA title in 1986, defeating Tony Tubbs in a 15-round majority decision. Tim's career record was 55-13 with one draw, and after his career was over, he went on to train many boxers, including his son and Clinton Woods, the light heavyweight champion in the UK. Tim has been inducted into the Pennsylvania Boxing Hall of Fame and the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame. And tonight, right now, we honor Tim Witherspoon, enshrining him in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Tim, congratulations.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for inducting me into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. So many boxers that came out of Philly that made an impression on me and other boxers. When I first started boxing, I started training at the South Philly at the Old Passion Gym, where a whole lot of variety of boxers trained at. And whenever fighters came from other parts of the world and the United States, everybody wanted to find out where is the old Passyunk gym. But not only that, the city itself had a whole lot of great boxers in it. You had Willie the Worm Monroe, you had Georgie Benton, Slim Robinson, Joe Frazier, Kitten Hayward, the list goes on. And I was privileged to meet most of them guys, and it had a great influence on me as coming up in my boxing career. It's just a great experience and really cool to get an award from a city that everybody all over the world respect. When you go over different countries, everybody want to come to Philly. Everybody talk about Philly. This style in Philly is Philly, you know. And for me to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and not only that, I'm a 2-time heavyweight champ of the world. Came straight out of Philadelphia. You know, I'm proud of these things, and I just want to just say thank you. I can go on and tell you about a lot of stories. You might have to read it in the book that I'm gonna write, or somebody gonna write for me. So I'm just humble, and I'm inducted to one of the greatest boxing cities in the whole world. That's Philadelphia. I was heavyweight champ of the world. Matter of fact, I was the only heavyweight champ born in Philadelphia. Joe Frazier wasn't born in Philly, who I love. I love Joe. We had a lot of conversations. Joe was born down south. I was actually born in Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, not too far from the Rocky Steps, not too far, matter of fact, 5 minutes from the Italian market where they filmed everything. I'm from South Philly, where the Italians lived on from 9th to like 15th, and the Irish and the Mummers lived from like 4th to the Front Street, and we lived in the middle. That was a great place to really be born and raised, because we witnessed a lot of different cultures and how they move around and how they operate, you know, and it was great. Rocky was a fiction, 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, and I was the nonfiction. I was real Rocky. I won the heavyweight champion 2 times, and so did he, but mine is in real life. Maybe we should get together and do some type of movie. But I really appreciate all my friends, everybody that supported me. They were behind me 100%. And I just want to say that I love everybody, and I never thought in 100 years I would make it this far. 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. I want to thank you guys for inducting me into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. You made me who I am. I'm saying that the people that supported me. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to another year. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, and congratulations once again. Our next inductee from the world of hockey, from the Flyers, Rick Tocchet. What a player he was. A power forward in every sense of the word. He could hit, he could fight, he could score, and fans loved him. So welcome Rick Tocchet into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. We turn for more perspective to the Flyers in-arena announcer, Lou Nolan. Lou, take it away.
Thanks, Joe. On behalf of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame and as a fellow inductee, I'd like to welcome Rick Tocchet to the ranks. Rick Tocchet was a 6th-round pick for the Flyers in 1983 in the amateur draft. He went directly to the NHL, playing in 75 games that year and scoring 14 goals. And he went on to an illustrious NHL career that spanned 18 years, 11 of those as a Flyer. He appeared in over 600 NHL games, leading the Flyers in points in 1990 with 40 goals, and was named the Flyers MVP. Rick was one of those rare players who not only had good hands, 440 goals, but he was really tough with just under 3,000 penalty minutes. He sat next to me in the penalty box often. Although he was intense, he'd often talk to us. Rick is a 3-time Stanley Cup champ, 1 as a player and 2 in the coaching ranks. A 4-time All-Star, 3 seasons in a row in 89-91, Rick is the NHL all-time leader in Gordie Howe hat tricks which is a goal, assist, and fight in the same game, and he has 18 of those. And he's also fifth in all-time regular hat tricks for the Flyers. After his playing days, he went on to coaching ranks with stops in 5 NHL teams, winning a cup in Pittsburgh, and is currently head coach of the Arizona Coyotes. Rick is a great guy. He was awarded the 1988 Class Guy Award presented by the Philadelphia Sports Writers Association. All of us at the Flyers are proud of Rick Tocchet and his well-deserved induction into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Toc, congratulations.
Thank you, Lou, and congratulations again to Rick Tocchet. Now to pro football, and a great defensive back. We induct Daron Sherrie into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Daron played 11 seasons as a defensive back with the Kansas City Chiefs. Daron was elected to 6 Pro Bowls and 5 times was a member of the NFL's All-NFL team. He had an awesome 50 career interceptions, 14 fumble recoveries, and in 1986 was the AFC's Defensive Player of the Year. Daron was awarded the Ed Block Courage Award in 1990 and the Byron Weezer White NFL Man of the Year Award in 1987. He is a member of the Chiefs' 40th anniversary team from 1999 and the NFL's 1980 All-Decade team. Daron was inducted into the Chiefs Hall of Fame in 1996 and the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame in 2002. And now he is enshrined in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Daron Sherrie.
Hi, this is Daron Sherrie, and I want to say thank you to the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame for presenting me with this great honor. As a young man growing up in Palmyra, New Jersey, and going on to Rutgers University, and then going on to play at the Kansas City Chiefs as an undrafted free agent punter, and then becoming a 6-time All-Pro safety, this award means so much to me. I'd also like to thank 2 people who made it possible for me to be here. Mr. Osa Meekins, who was my pal football coach, who once told me when the going gets tough, the tough get going. I've always tried to live by that motto. The other gentleman is Mr. Merrill Pratt, who was a janitor at our high school in Palmyra, who always gave us an opportunity to play in the gym and keep us off the streets. To those 2 people, I say thank you for giving me the opportunity and allowing me to be the person that I've become. I'd also like to thank my family, my wife and my kids, my brothers and my sister, who supported me throughout my entire career, and my mom and dad, of course. I'd also like to say congratulations to the other award winners who are going to be inducted into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. This is a tremendous honor, and I'm proud of each and every one of you for receiving it. Thank you very much. I appreciate this honor, and will always be something that's special to me.
Congratulations, Daron. We now turn our attention to our final inductee of the evening, Jerry Sisemore. He made 127 consecutive starts for the Eagles and started an awesome 155 out of 156 games in his career. He was inducted into the Philadelphia Eagles Hall of Fame in 1991 and, as you probably know, played most of his seasons for the Eagles under the legendary Dick Vermeil. With that said, let's welcome the coach, Coach Vermeil, for more about his former player, Jerry Sisemore.
Good evening. First off, I'd like to thank the Philadelphia Hall of Fame Committee for selecting me, Dick Vermeil, to introduce to you Jerry Sisemore, this year's Hall of Fame candidate from the Philadelphia Eagles. Jerry Sisemore was on the roster when I came here in 1976. He was drafted number 1, 3rd pick overall in 1973. In his career, he started 162 out of 163 opportunities. 105 of 106 of those games, he was playing for me. Needless to say, I have great respect, admiration, and love for this man, Jerry Sisemore. Nobody played his position any better at that time than Jerry Sisemore was playing it for me. Or did they ever play as consistently? There were years when he very seldom ever gave up a sack, which today in the modern football, tackles are always graded on sacks they give up. Well, Jerry would have gotten a straight A at that time. Deserving of the Hall of Fame in every category: integrity, work ethic, tremendous human being, great character, loyal, great teammate. When you talk about Jerry Sisemore and other people talk about Jerry Sisemore that coached him and played with him, they all say, we love Jerry Sisemore. So thank you, Hall of Fame committee, for selecting Jerry Sisemore. He is certainly deserving.
To be inducted into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame is the highest honor that I have to date. Philadelphia has such a wonderful support, love for sports, and to be considered in that group and to be in that group is absolutely wonderful. The beginning of my Fly Eagles Fly tattoo, the 1973 NFL draft, I didn't know, no one really knew what was going to happen back then. And the word was, okay, you get a phone number that we can contact you on, that you can be contacted on, and you stay by that phone, and the draft starts at 9 o'clock. And just hang out by that phone, and if you get drafted, someone will call you. So at about 7:45 Texas time, it was like the phone rings, and it's kind of like, oh, what is it? And the guy came on, this is Bill Rendell with the Philadelphia Eagles. We're at the draft. And would you play in Philadelphia if they draft you? And it's like, what? Who are you? And I just hung up the phone and calls back immediately. No. Now, we're fixing to start the draft. Then it's like, oh, yeah, okay, you're an hour early. Okay. And we're going to draft you. Would you play in Philadelphia is a standard question. If we draft you, will you play here? Well, yeah. And it was like, well, I've heard about Philly. And Bill Bradley, University of Texas, folk hero, but Longhorn man, good guy, good friend of mine. And so it all happened. Said, well, congratulations, you're now a Philadelphia Eagle. And it's 8:15. It's over with. I'm in. And it's like, well, what happened? Well, you were drafted number 3 in the draft and Philadelphia's first choice. And it was like, wow. And then it all started to sink in. And it was really a wonderful, wonderful blessing that I still go back to definitely weekly, sometimes daily, of that feeling. And then the whole gamut of going from worst to almost first in 5 years. Dick Vermeil, you're all in or you're not going to be here. And he promised that no one in the National Football League would work harder than the Philadelphia Eagles. And we will all work together. We will get, if you're not involved, if you do not want to put up with it, that's okay. But we want dedication. And so he had us all move to Philly in the off season. So we lived together. We did everything social. We knew everybody's family. We got together as a family and in a group where we were all in. And we're going to get this better. We're going to beat Dallas. We're going to catch them, and we're going to work harder than they are. And we're going to love each other more than they love each other. And the city of brotherly love they just kept getting better and better and better. Now it's a tattoo. I've got a huge tattoo on my soul for South Philly. It is amazing. There's not a better support system than the city of Philadelphia in their sports. Everyone knows everything about every sport, young to old, to generation. And it is wonderful, but it's tough at the same time, because there are times when you go into the, sneak into the grocery store, supermarket on Tuesday morning, day off, and you try to sneak in there and there's no one going to be there. And then have a little old lady come up, pushing her shopping cart into the back of you. Yous are stink. Yous Eagles are stink. You should not be paid. You know, it's just like, hey. But it was, you're all in, and there's nothing that will ever take the place of Philadelphia. And to be considered to be in the Philadelphia Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame, in a sports town, 100% all in, is awesome. There's nothing that can compare with this, nothing. And it is definitely the highlight of my career. I get emotional when I talk about Philadelphia. It's beautiful.
Well, that about wraps us up for this year's inductees and the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Certainly a different kind of year this year. We all know the deal. We know the world we're living in. Things will get better, and when they do, certainly we'll be back together again, hopefully next year, in the banquet room. We want to thank all of our sponsors and supporters, so many different people who help make it all happen with this ceremony year after year. Thank you to you for being a part, watching tonight's event, and also to all of our inductees. We thank them for their massive contribution to Philadelphia sports through so many decades. Hey, Philadelphia sports, it can make you want to rip your hair out at times, but it can also lead to greatness. And the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame will always stand for honoring the greats in Philadelphia sports. We'll see you next year. Congratulations again to this year's honorees. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.
Philadelphia is a hardworking town. It's a passionate town. It's a sports town. Hello, this is Keith Baldwin coming to you from Spike's Trophies here in Philadelphia. Spike's is a 90-year-old company. We've got 3 showrooms. We are an awards trophy manufacturer. We help people recognize. We help people celebrate success. We also distribute promotional products. That's anything with a logo, like an embroidered shirt. And we also manufacture interior signage. Keith Baldwin from Spike's Trophies in Philadelphia.